Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something quite damaging: psychological manipulation. It can be really subtle, undermining someone's whole sense of reality.
And we're going to zero in on one specific form today: gaslighting.
Exactly. We've got sources looking at this from, well, all sorts of angles: legal, organizational, even broader societal views.
Right. The goal is to get a really comprehensive picture of how it works and, importantly, what can be done about it.
So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the key insights, understand the mechanics, and hopefully offer some clarity and maybe some actionable knowledge for you.
Okay.
So let's start right there. What exactly is gaslighting fundamentally, and why is it so corrosive?
Well, think of it as someone methodically chipping away at your belief in your own mind. That's really the heart of it.
Okay.
It's a type of psychological abuse. The perpetrator distorts reality, makes you doubt your memory, what you see, what you feel, ultimately even your sanity.
And it's the subtlety that makes it so insidious.
Yes, precisely. It often creeps up slowly, and there are no physical marks, no bruises. That makes it incredibly difficult for victims to even recognize what's happening, let alone prove it to others.
Right. And that lack of, well, tangible proof must be a huge obstacle in the legal system.
It absolutely is. The law likes clear definitions, clear evidence. Psychological manipulation, like gaslighting is, it's nuanced.
How do you prove intent? How do you show that pattern in a courtroom?
Exactly. It's a significant challenge for the current legal frameworks.
But there are ideas for legal reform being discussed, aren't there?
Yeah.
People are trying to find ways forward.
Yes, there's definitely a push for specific anti-gaslighting legislation. The idea is to clearly define these manipulative behaviors, establish what counts as gaslighting legally.
Like specific tactics.
Right. And set standards for proof that courts could actually use. Having laws that explicitly name these actions could be really powerful for victims seeking justice.
Our sources also mention technology. That seems like a double-edged sword in this context.
That's a very good point. Technology could help document things, recordings, digital messages, logs. And this is but we have to be incredibly careful about privacy. Any use of tech for evidence needs rock-solid safeguards against misuse.
Absolutely. So beyond the legal battles and evidence gathering, what kind of immediate direct support do people going through this actually need?
Strengthening those victim support systems is just crucial. This means access to specialized counseling, therapists who understand the specific trauma of gaslighting.
Right, not just any counseling.
Exactly. And dedicated legal aid is vital, too, to help navigate the system. Plus, financial assistance can be essential. The cost of fighting back shouldn't be another barrier.
It really sounds like it takes a village, so to speak. Collaboration across different sectors seems necessary.
Absolutely. The sources really stress this. Partnerships between government agencies and private sector organizations are key.
For funding, personnel.
Yes, for funding, for staffing these support programs, for maybe implementing some of those tech solutions safely. And public awareness campaigns are huge, too.
Just letting people know what gaslighting is, that it's real, and where they can turn.
Precisely. And that in some situations, it can actually be illegal. Making that knowledge widespread is so important.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. What about labor unions and civic organizations? They seem to approach this from a different, maybe more community-based angle.
They played a really vital role, especially in raising awareness. Think about it. Someone experiencing gaslighting might not have a name for it.
Right.
Unions and civic groups can get information out there: seminars, workshops, flyers, just explaining what it looks like, giving examples, offering coping strategies.
And can they offer direct help too, like support networks?
Yes, definitely. Setting up support networks is key. Maybe online forums where people can connect, share experiences, find resources. Helplines for immediate support are also valuable. And collaborating with counselors and lawyers makes these networks much stronger, more comprehensive.
It's interesting how unions specifically can step in within a workplace context.
Yeah, unions are in a unique spot to advocate for workers collectively. They can negotiate for clauses in contracts that specifically address psychological abuse, including gaslighting.
Protective measures built right in.
Exactly. And they have the structure to investigate incidents within the workplace, to push for action to protect the workers affected.
And then civic organizations work on that broader societal level, pushing for systemic change.
Precisely. They often spearhead social movements. Think lobbying legislators, running petition drives.
Putting pressure on the system.
Right. Generating public pressure to get stronger laws and policies passed. It's all about making things more equitable for everyone, challenging those power dynamics.
Okay, turning inward now, to organizations themselves. It feels like preventing this has to start right at the top, with ethical leadership.
Absolutely. Ethical leadership is the foundation. We're talking about fairness, transparency, genuine respect for every single employee.
Leaders setting the tone.
Exactly. When leaders model these values, it permeates the culture. It helps build trust, create psychological safety, basically an environment where people feel secure, not manipulated.
So what can companies actually do to cultivate that kind of leadership? Is it just about hiring the right people?
Hiring helps, but development is key. Robust internal training programs are essential.
Focused on what specifically?
Well, ethical decision-making, obviously, problem-solving skills, but crucially, a deep understanding of psychological safety and how to foster it in a team. Coaching skills, emotional intelligence, it all ties together.
That makes sense. And how managers are evaluated must play a role too, if you only measure bottom-line results.
That's a critical point. Managerial evaluations need an overhaul in many places. It shouldn't just be about targets.
What else should be included?
Things like leadership quality itself, the level of trust within their team. Are they actually improving psychological safety? Maybe using 360-degree feedback can help get a fuller picture.
So it's not enough to have a few ethical leaders dotted around. It's about the whole organizational culture actively preventing gaslighting.
Yes, exactly. Prevention needs organization-wide efforts focused on psychological safety. Creating a workplace where people genuinely feel they can speak up, share ideas, even growth concerns, without fear of being shut down or, worse, punished.
How did that work in practice?
It means leaders and managers actively listening, taking contributions seriously, showing respect even when there's disagreement, not dismissing or belittling people.
And transparency seems like a big piece of that puzzle, building trust.
Transparency is a powerful antidote to manipulation, definitely. When decisions are explained the why behind them, the context, it builds trust.
Reduces suspicion.
Exactly. It reduces ambiguity and fosters a sense that everyone's working towards the same goals based on shared understanding.
So valuing employee voices isn't just about suggestion boxes. It's about real consideration and action.
Precisely. It's about actively seeking input, sure, through surveys or feedback sessions, but then crucially, showing that input is genuinely considered and acted upon where possible.
That sends a message.
It sends a powerful message. Your voice matters here. And that makes it much harder for gaslighting behaviors to take root.
Yeah.
And again, leaders have to model this constantly. It has to be embedded.
One of our sources brought up Japanese workplace culture as a specific example, looking at collectivism. That was an interesting angle on how group harmony, while good, can sometimes have downsides.
Yeah, that's quite insightful. Looking at how a strong cultural emphasis on the group, on collectivism, which absolutely has strengths like team cohesion, can sometimes, maybe unintentionally, lead to individual perspectives getting lost or suppressed.
If maintaining harmony is the absolute top priority.
Right. Dissenting opinions might not surface easily.
So the challenge is finding that balance, keeping the team spirit, but making sure individuals feel seen and heard.
Exactly. It's about designing things so employees know their unique contribution matters. Maybe project-based teams where individual skills shine, or personalized career paths. Integrating individual strengths into the collective effort.
And in a globalized world, being open to different values seems less like a nice to have and more like a necessity for staying competitive.
Absolutely. If an organization is too uniform, it misses out. Bringing in diverse talent, diverse perspectives, and creating a culture where those differences are genuinely valued, not just tolerated, that's where innovation often comes from.
So things like diversity training, clear channels for expressing different ideas.
Yeah, those become really important tools for building that kind of inclusive, dynamic environment.
And this shift also suggests leadership styles need to evolve too, doesn't it? Away from just top-down commands.
Definitely. That traditional hierarchical style might not unlock the full potential of a diverse team. Flexible leadership, where leaders are more like facilitators involving employees in decisions, that fosters autonomy and, frankly, often leads to better outcomes and resilience.
It's about evolving, keeping the good parts of collaboration, but making space for individuality.
Precisely. Creating workplaces that are both cohesive and dynamic.
This whole idea of psychological safety, it obviously extends way beyond the office. Our sources really hammered home its importance in schools, too.
Yes, absolutely. Schools aren't just about academics. They're where we learn crucial social and emotional skills. Psychological safety there is fundamental. It's about preventing bullying, preventing gaslighting right from the start.
So giving kids the space to express themselves without fear.
Exactly. Building it into the curriculum, fostering a culture of mutual respect between everyone, students and teachers.
And there's a very direct link between bullying and a lack of psychological safety.
A very direct link. Bullying often thrives where there are power imbalances, exclusion. So early education about the causes and consequences of bullying is vital.
Using things like role-playing.
Yeah, simulations, role-playing, things that help kids really understand the impact of their actions, build empathy.
And gaslighting needs specific attention within that anti-bullying education, given how damaging it is.
It does. It's such an insidious form of bullying. Schools need comprehensive education on preventing it, using, age-appropriate real-life examples to show what it looks like and the harm it does.
Helping kids become more sensitive to their own feelings and others.
Exactly. Empowering them to recognize manipulative behavior early on, whether in others or even reflecting on their own actions.
It really sounds like teachers are absolutely central to creating that safe space.
They really are. When teachers consistently show respect for every student, for their opinions, when they don't dismiss feelings, that builds the foundation of trust.
So teacher training is important here too.
Crucial. Training specifically on psychological safety gives teachers the skills to understand and support students' emotional well-being effectively. And this isn't just about preventing harm, it actually boosts learning. Well, when kids feel safe, they're more likely to ask questions, take creative risks, engage fully. It enhances academic skills, creativity, problem solving, the whole package.
It's good to hear there are success stories out there.
Yeah.
Real organizations that have tackled this and made positive changes.
Yes, those examples are really important. They offer hope and practical insights. We saw examples like big multinational companies changing their culture through transparency, getting employees more involved, and smaller businesses too, effectively supporting victims, holding perpetrators accountable, helping people recover and rejoin the team.
Even in schools.
Yeah, educational institutions using things like participatory workshops, role-playing, to build awareness and foster that culture of respect among staff and students.
Looking at these successes, are there common ingredients? Things that seem essential for making it work?
Yeah, a few things stand out. Recognizing the problem early is key. Having strong leadership buy-in and active involvement is crucial.
Not just lip service.
No, real commitment. And a willingness to take concrete actions, not just talk about it. When those elements are there, you see real change. It's not just about stopping gaslighting. It leads to healthier, more inclusive places overall. Better growth, more resilience.
Okay, let's bring it down to the individual level. For someone listening right now who thinks, maybe this is happening to me, what are some practical first steps they can take? How can they start to defend themselves?
The first step, and maybe the hardest, is recognizing those early warning signs. That constant self-doubt creeping in, being blamed unfairly, feeling like someone's deliberately messing with your relationships or your perception of things.
So trusting your gut feeling, even when you're being told it's wrong.
Yes, pay attention to that feeling. And try, if possible, to step back from immediate emotional reactions. Analyze the situation as objectively as you can. Writing things down can really help here.
Keeping a log.
Exactly. A record of events, conversations, it helps maintain clarity and perspective when your reality is being questioned.
And documentation seems critical if you need to escalate things later.
Absolutely critical. Gather evidence objectively. Notes, emails, texts, whatever you have, even recordings, if it's legal where you are. Build a factual record.
And don't go through it alone.
Definitely not. Isolation is what the manipulator often wants. Reach out. Talk to trusted colleagues, HR if you feel safe doing so, family, friends, dedicated support groups.
How should someone approach those conversations?
Calmly, if possible. Stick to the facts, use the evidence you've gathered, and don't hesitate to consult specialists, lawyers, union reps, counselors. They can offer expert advice for your specific situation.
It's clear that while individual strategies are vital, tackling gaslighting properly needs something much bigger, a broader societal effort.
Exactly. You can't solve complex social issues like this in isolation. It requires, well, everyone working together. Governments, the private sector, schools, the media, even international cooperation.
So building bridges between those different sectors.
Yes. Strong partnerships are essential. Governments can create the legal frameworks, the regulations. The private sector can innovate, implement solutions on the ground.
And education and media shape the understanding and awareness.
Precisely. Schools educate future generations, build awareness from a young age. The media has a huge role in raising public awareness, providing factual reporting, shifting those broader norms and attitudes.
And sometimes these issues cross borders too.
They do, so international collaboration, built on trust and diplomacy, becomes necessary as well. It really requires breaking down silos between sectors so everyone can support each other.
So looking long term, what's the ultimate vision? What does a society free from gaslighting look like?
It's a society built on a culture of mutual respect, where psychological safety is just normal. In schools, at work, in communities.
Rebuilding trust.
Rebuilding trust is a huge part of it, through honest, transparent communication, through empathy. It's about setting a better trajectory for the future, giving kids the tools, empathy, problem-solving skills, and environments where they feel safe.
And getting there requires change on multiple levels.
Yes, individual awareness needs to shift. Education needs to evolve. Legal systems need strengthening. And we need to reevaluate cultural norms that might, perhaps inadvertently, allow these behaviors to persist.
As we wrap up this deep dive, it seems connecting gaslighting to those deeper cultural roots, like the example of sekoi or pettiness in Japan used to push people out, that adds another layer of understanding.
It does. It helps explain the persistence sometimes. Recognizing the lack of empathy, the double standards often at play, maybe understanding historical contexts where individual needs were sometimes overlooked for group harmony helps us see how these power dynamics can be exploited.
But the way forward isn't about staying stuck in those patterns. It's about a conscious shift.
Absolutely. A fundamental societal shift towards valuing individual dignity. And that really hinges on cultivating empathy and mutual respect.
And responsibility from those in power.
Yes. A responsibility to act with fairness, with sincerity. That sets the tone. Ultimately, building a society free from gaslighting requires all of us adopting ethical principles, honesty, fairness at every single level.
This has certainly shone a light on just how complex gaslighting is, and the really multifaceted approach needed to tackle it. The sources make it clear there are no easy answers.
No, indeed. It requires ongoing vigilance, a real commitment from everyone, individuals, organizations, society, to create environments where this kind of manipulation just can't thrive.
So for you listening, perhaps take a moment to reflect on the power dynamics you see around you, in your own life, your workplace, your community. How can you, personally, contribute to building environments where manipulation doesn't have space to operate?
Build spaces where our traits become strengths.